Hi, so this is the last video that we're doing for this class, and we just have to fill out a few questions. So the first one is the 5 key takeaways from this course. I would say that the major takeaway from this course is learning how to deal with people. I think that I was placed in a group with people that I didn't really know how to work with, and that were very different working style than I have. And I think learning how to work with them was one of the major key takeaways. I would go as far as to say as a whole different takeaway is learning how to deal and try to be respectful to authority, and even though you might not necessarily have the best interaction with them. So I think that that's a really interesting takeaway. I think the third takeaway is to look everything with a critical eye. This class, I think I particularly came into this class very excited about what the course could be, very excited about what we were going to learn. And then in the beginning, I was very blindsided by it, just trying to get the best out of it. But it's impossible, especially if you're going into a country you don't know, to not look at things critically and think about it. Think about all your actions critically, because that's what it means to be respectful of different cultures. The fourth takeaway would be that
Probably not.
there's, I think Valeria was the one who said this quote: "You don't know what you don't know," and trying to apply what we think we do know about our culture onto other cultures is very incorrect and very disrespectful. And I think that our final presentations were a great demonstration of that. We all got squandered by the judges, and it just comes to show that we were being very culturally insensitive to the city because we just didn't really know it, and we were trying to impose our ideas, and we just don't know what we don't know. And last but not least, I learned to that you just have to make the best of the situations that you have. I think that this course in general and this trip even more so, we just had to fight through the unpleasant parts and make the best out of this trip. And I think that lots of us successfully did. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have come to India and to have gotten to know Vizag to the extent that we did. The key things I learned while I was in India were mostly related to culture or to my project. The first was that I really enjoyed learning that the extent to which how well government housing works in India. Honestly, I was expecting it not really to work, especially because of what happened in Brazil. But again, I can't be applying these things. I've learned a lot about they actually have really good utilities. They have really good master plans and really good like public partnership or private-public partnerships with different companies. So I think that works really well, and that's really amazing. I also learned a lot about different parts of Indian culture. I think that watching the hard work was really interesting, but also just watching how uncertain everything was really interesting. I think that this hub of technology doesn't necessarily produce and live up to what I thought it was going to be. So that was really interesting, and it reminded me a lot of back home because people just half-ass a lot of stuff. And I think that takes me to the second, the first thing I learned about the Indian culture is that the uncertainty with which everything functions. There's no idea of efficiency of getting stuff done. It's just done haphazardly and hoping it works. And I think that really sets back the culture. The second thing is through a lot of conversations with friends, we were talking about why we think that democracy isn't necessarily functioning as well as it does within Western countries. And the truth is that it doesn't function because Western countries had their native populations completely wiped out, and the immigrants that came there knew how to were willing to partake in this new form of government. Whereas in India, you still have so many different ethnic groups, so many different ethnic groups, so many different ethnic groups, so many different languages, and it creates a really hard barrier between people, and it's really hard to impose these new ideas on conditions that are thousands of years old. And I think that greatly hinders the country's performance within a democratic setting. Last but not least, I would say that I learned a lot about just how beautiful it is and how much potential it really does have. I think that like I've met so many great people, and that was really amazing. So, the hurdles I faced, I think the first hurdle was not really getting along, not getting along with my group, but like having a group that wasn't necessarily friends with people. I've always worked with groups and I have a really easy time getting friends with people, and it was really hard to do that in this group, but that's okay because I think that um, we worked it out pretty well, and I was really happy with the product that we had. I think the next hurdle was trying to understand the limits of how much we could do research for our actual project. I think in the beginning we were trying to look at a bunch of different pieces of research, but the reality is that it wasn't really possible, so that was really sad. I think the other hurdle was trying to get over like the fact that I came with preconceived knowledge. As I mentioned, like I tried to impose my ideas about Brazil onto India, and I was quickly shot down by Avni, and I realized now that like that's really important because we can't just impose our ideas of our experiences onto other cultures. So that was really good. I also feel like we faced a hurdle with like the busy work we were given and trying to actually get real content while so much time of busy work was required from us. I think that really detracted from the product we produced in this course. So I think that if this course is offered in the future, is something that should really be changed because time should be spent legitimately doing research and talking to people who have really good feedback. And lastly, I would say the other hurdle was within India trying to actually get to know the city from the perspective that we wanted to for our project. I think that there was just so much inefficiency in how things were planned, and which led to major losses in time, which meant that we couldn't actually get to know parts of the city that mattered to us understanding and not making fools of ourselves during the final presentation. And I think, as I mentioned, my group was definitely not people who were my friends, but then eventually we worked it out. And despite different working styles, I think it worked out really well. And by the end, we were pretty comfortable with each other and pretty honest. I think that really did matter. And we were respecting each other's ideas and ways we function. And my overall impression of this course is that it shouldn't be offered again. I think that this course was extremely disrespectful to Indian culture. I think that the feedback we received from our judges were very much a proof that we had no idea what we were talking about. We were literally the modern day white man's burden. We came in, thought we knew what we were talking about, tried to tell them to use this technology, and they're like, you have no idea of the city, you haven't learned enough about the city, you haven't learned enough about anything. And I think that our unreasonable ideas were sugar-coated by a lot of judges throughout the whole process, which led to an extremely embarrassing scenario for all of us at the end of the presentation when very competent people shot us down very visibly. So I think that either this course drastically needs to change to a course where legitimate feedback is being given and people are being guided by someone who has the interests of India and the interests of this course at heart, or this course should be offered. But on the pro side, I really did enjoy going to India. I think I learned a lot about people in this course. I loved the people I met. I made some good friends in this course, and I will definitely be coming back to India because I really like this country. So glad to be done with the course.